Most investors are unknowingly playing a game of financial musical chairs, praying the music doesn't stop exactly when they need to liquidate their positions to pay for their lives. If your entire strategy relies on a stock price being higher tomorrow than it is today, you aren't investing. You are speculating on the behavior of a crowd. Kevin O'Leary, the man famously known as Mr. Wonderful, built a net worth exceeding $400 million by rejecting this exact gamble. He operates on a single, ruthless principle that most retail investors ignore to their own peril. If a company doesn't pay him to own it, he doesn't want it. The harsh reality of the market is that stock prices are volatile, driven by emotion, headlines, and macroeconomic noise that no one can truly predict. However, a dividend payment is a hard, cold reality. It is the physical manifestation of a company's excess cash flow being transferred from their vault to your bank account. While the rest of the world is obsessed with the next big thing that might double in price or go to zero, O'Leary focuses on the consistency of the dividend. This shift in perspective isn't just about playing it safe. It's about understanding the fundamental mechanics of how wealth is actually built over decades rather than weeks. When you buy a stock that doesn't pay a dividend, you are essentially buying a contract that you hope to sell to a greater fool at a higher price later. This is the core of the speculation trap. If the market enters a decade-long period of stagnation, where prices move sideways, the speculator earns exactly zero. In fact, when adjusted for inflation, that speculator is actually losing wealth every single day. Kevin O'Leary realized early on that the only way to ensure a return on investment, regardless of what the madness of crowds does to the stock price, is to demand a dividend. Think about it like owning a physical business, such as a local car wash or a laundromat. Would you ever buy a business that generates no profit and offers no way for you to take money out of the register, simply hoping that one day someone else will buy that non-productive business from you for more than you paid? Of course not. That would be seen as a delusional business move. Yet millions of people do exactly this with their 401k or tax-free growth accounts, like a Roth IRA, every single day by chasing non-dividend paying growth stocks. O'Leary's philosophy is built on the idea that a stock is not just a ticker symbol on a screen. It is a small piece of a living, breathing business. If that business is healthy, it should be able to distribute a portion of its earnings to its owners. If it can't or won't, then as an investor, you have no tangible tie to the success of that company other than the hope of a price increase. Later, we will look at the mathematical proof showing how ignoring these payments can cost you nearly 80% of your potential lifetime wealth. But first, we have to understand the soldier mentality. To understand the O'Leary approach to dividends, you have to view your capital the way he does. He often says that he views his dollars as soldiers. Every morning, he sends them out into the world to fight. Their job is to capture more prisoners, which are more dollars, and bring them back to the base. If a dollar goes out and doesn't bring back a dividend, that soldier has failed his mission. This psychological framework changes the way you look at a market crash. While the average person sees their portfolio value drop and panics, a dividend investor sees their soldiers still returning with prisoners every month or quarter. If making sense of this soldier mentality is actually helping you see where your money should be going, hit like and subscribe. It helps us keep the lights on while we break down these strategies. Let's look at the actual data that proves O'Leary right. Most people believe that the vast majority of stock market wealth comes from buying low and selling high. The data suggests otherwise. If you look at the history of the S&P 500 starting back in 1957, the price return of the index is staggering, growing by several thousand%. But that is only half the story. Actually, it's much less than half. When you factor in the impact of dividends and the power of reinvesting them, the total return isn't just higher. It's in a completely different stratosphere. Here is the factual loop we need to close. Between 1957 and the modern era, the price return of the S&P 500 is roughly 6,500%. That sounds incredible until you see the total return with dividends reinvested, which exceeds 46,000%. Do the math on that. This means that approximately 80% of the total wealth generated by the stock market over the last several decades didn't come from the stocks getting more valuable in price. It came from the dividends and the compounding of those dividends. When you ignore the dividend, you are essentially leaving 80% of your potential money on the table. You are working 5 times harder to achieve the same result as someone who simply buys quality, dividend-paying companies and lets the math do the heavy lifting. This is why Kevin O'Leary eventually decided that instead of just picking individual stocks, he wanted to create a system, an ETF, that would codify these rules. This led to the creation of OUSA, a fund designed to filter for quality, volatility, and dividend yield. But why go through the trouble of creating a specific fund? Because not all dividends are created equal. There is a trap known as the yield trap, where a company pays a massive dividend of 10% or 12%, but they are doing so by taking on massive debt or liquidating their own assets. This is unsustainable and eventually leads to a dividend cut and a share price collapse. O'Leary's framework for OUSA was designed to avoid these traps by focusing on large-cap, high-quality companies that have the actual cash flow to back up their promises. If you look under the hood of a quality dividend-focused fund like OUSA, you won't find speculative biotech or moonshot tech startups. You find the titans of industry. We're talking about companies like Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson, Home Depot, and Procter & Gamble. These are businesses that provide the essential infrastructure of modern life. Whether the economy is booming or in a deep recession, people still need their medicine, their household cleaners, their software, and their home repair supplies. These companies don't just pay a dividend, they have a history of growing that dividend. From 2010 to 2019, the dividends per share for companies in the S&P 500 more than doubled. That is a growth rate of roughly 11% per year. Think about that for a second. If you have a fixed income source like a bond, your payment is static. But with a growing dividend, your raise is built in. This is the ultimate hedge against inflation, which is the silent friction eating away at your purchasing power every single day. O'Leary's strategy also emphasizes heavy diversification. In a typical dividend-heavy ETF, you'll see a massive concentration in sectors like healthcare and information technology, often around 20% to 22% each. Then you have consumer staples and industrials rounding out the core. This is a defensive posture. In a market downturn, these sectors tend to hold their value better than speculative growth sectors because their earnings are sticky. Are you currently relying on a single sector like tech to fund your future, or is your income stream diversified across different parts of the economy? The beauty of this model is that it pays out monthly. Instead of waiting for a quarterly check, investors receive a monthly distribution. This creates a psychological feedback loop that encourages long-term holding. It turns the stock market from a stressful casino into a predictable utility company. However, this convenience comes with a cost that most investors fail to calculate until it's too late. Before we get to the math behind how a small fee can eat your retirement, if you're getting value out of this breakdown of O'Leary's strategy, subscribe and join the community. Now let's talk about the 0.48%. In the world of investing, 0.48% sounds like a tiny number. It's less than half of 1%. This is the expense ratio for OUSA, meant to cover management, administration, and operating costs. But in the world of compounding, small numbers are deceptive. Over a 30-year period, a fee of nearly 0.5% doesn't just take 0.5% of your money. It takes 0.5% of your asterisk principal every single year, which means that money is no longer there to compound. When you account for the opportunity cost, the money that those fees asterisk would asterisk have earned if they had stayed invested, a 0.5% fee can easily eat 10% to 15% of your total final portfolio value over a long career. This is the primary reason why some investors, despite agreeing with Kevin O'Leary's dividend philosophy, choose to buy the individual stocks themselves. By holding the companies directly, you eliminate the middleman and keep 100% of the dividend for yourself. There is another hidden cost to ETFs, the loss of control. When you buy a fund, you are handing the steering wheel to an algorithm or a fund manager. They decide when to buy and when to sell, often based on short-term volatility or rigid rebalancing rules. A perfect example of this happened within OUSA's energy sector holdings. Historically, energy companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron have been the kings of the dividend world. They have balance sheets strong enough to maintain their payments even when oil prices plummet. However, during a significant market downturn where the energy sector was hit hard, many managed funds, including O'Leary's, completely rotated out of energy, selling at the bottom to reduce volatility in the fund. For an individual investor with a long-term horizon, this would have been a mistake. If you believe in the long-term viability of these companies, a price drop is a sale that allows you to reload at a lower cost per share, effectively increasing your yield on cost. But an ETF often can't afford to take those short-term paper losses because they fear their clients will panic and pull their money out. This creates a conflict of interest where the fund might sell a great dividend-paying company just to make the quarterly report look cleaner. You might wonder if Kevin O'Leary ever breaks his own rule. Is he a dividend purist, or does he leave room for growth? Surprisingly, even Mr. Wonderful acknowledges that dividends aren't the only asterisk way to make money. They are just the most asterisk reliable asterisk way. He has famously owned positions in companies like Tesla and manages a separate ETF called OGIG, which focuses on global internet giants like Amazon and Alphabet. This isn't necessarily hypocritical. It's a recognition of different buckets of wealth. O'Leary often suggests that your core should be built on the bedrock of dividend-paying companies to ensure your lifestyle is covered, while a smaller growth bucket can be used to capture the explosive upside of tech. But even then, he views the growth bucket as speculative. The dividend bucket is the real money. The strategy is essentially a barbell approach. On one side, you have high-yielding, stable, large-cap companies that pay for your mortgage and your groceries. On the other side, you have high-risk, high-reward growth stocks that might provide a massive windfall. The problem for most retail investors is that their barbell is heavily weighted toward the risk side, with nothing on the dividend side to catch them when the market turns. We have to talk about the invisible tax of inflation. If you are sitting on cash, you are losing money. If you are sitting on non-dividend growth stocks during a flat market, you are also losing money in real terms. The dividend is the only tool that allows you to stay even or get ahead without having to sell your assets. Imagine a scenario where you have $1 million portfolio. In a growth-only strategy, if the market drops 20% right when you need to retire, you are forced to sell shares at a discount to pay your bills. You are cannibalizing your portfolio. In a dividend strategy, you don't care that the portfolio is down 20%. You aren't selling the shares. You are simply living off the cash flow those shares produce. This is the ultimate financial freedom. It is the ability to ignore the price of your assets because the yield of your assets is sufficient. This is why Kevin O'Leary is so obsessed with this niche. It removes the stress of timing the market. You don't need to know when the next crash is coming if you know your dividend check is coming on the 15th of the month regardless. To truly harness the power that O'Leary talks about, you have to look at dividend reinvestment plans or DRIPs. When you take your dividend and automatically use it to buy more shares of the same company, you are creating a compounding machine. During a market crash, your dividend buys more shares because the price is lower. This means that when the market eventually recovers, you have a larger share count, which leads to an even larger dividend check, which buys even more shares. It is a self-reinforcing cycle of wealth creation. This is how a modest investment can turn into a multi-million-dollar estate over a career. It's not about finding the next Amazon. It's about finding the next 5 companies that will be around for the next 50 years and never stop paying you. Do you have a plan to reinvest your dividends? Or are you spending them as they come in, effectively cutting the legs off your compounding machine? The lesson Kevin O'Leary teaches isn't that dividends are a magic secret. The lesson is that dividends are the only honest metric in a market full of accounting tricks and hype. A company can fake its projected earnings. It can use creative accounting to make its growth look better than it is. But it cannot fake a dividend payment. The cash either exists in the bank account or it doesn't. If you want to follow the O'Leary path, you don't necessarily need to buy his ETF and pay the 0.48% fee. You can use the holdings of funds like OUSA as a starting point for your own research. You can look at the dividend aristocrats, companies that have raised their dividends for at least 25 consecutive years, and build your own personal ETF. This requires more work, yes. You have to monitor the balance sheets. You have to ensure the payout ratio, the percentage of earnings spent on dividends, remains sustainable, usually below 60% for most industries. But the reward for this work is the elimination of management fees and total control over your tax situation. Whether you choose the convenience of an ETF or the control of individual stock picking, the core principle remains the same. Stop gambling on price and start investing in cash flow. The market will do what it does. It will breathe in and it will breathe out. But as long as you are holding quality companies that prioritize returning capital to shareholders, you are no longer a victim of the market's whims. You are an owner of its profits. Kevin O'Leary's success isn't due to some supernatural ability to predict the future. It's due to his refusal to play a game where the odds are stacked against him. He chose the dividend path because it is the only path where the math is consistently on your side. The question you have to ask yourself is simple. If the stock market closed for the next 5 years and you couldn't see a single price quote, would your portfolio still be making you money? If the answer is no, you might be more of a speculator than you realize. Are you currently prioritizing the hope of capital gains or the certainty of dividend income in your retirement plan? Let's talk about the specific companies you're holding in the comments. I want to see how many of you are building a soldier army like Mr. Wonderful. Everything we talked about today regarding O'Leary's strategy and the power of cash flow is a great defensive start, but it means nothing if you aren't using the right engine to accelerate that growth. To see the exact math on how to speed up your timeline to retirement using these specific high-yield strategies, you should watch the video on your screen right now. I'll see you there.